Okay, welcome to the third vlog from Quality Chess. We're working hard on getting the sound better, and I hope we have succeeded. Today we will talk about key concepts of Gambit play, which is a book. We hope to get it out this year. Our target date is 21st of December. Don't know if we're going to make it. It's all very tight, but we're trying. And together with that, we'll hope to publish a few other books. So we don't know which ones will be ready and which one will be ready in January, but we have Roiz, the Nimzo Indian. We have Richard Pert playing the Rogosian, and we have a book by Thomas Luther as well. So I want to go quickly through the key concepts of Gambit play, the chapters. When we originally got the book from Russian, I was not sure if it would be relevant, because Gambit to me sounds like something from the 19th century which has been left behind. But it turned out to be actually quite modern and quite relevant, and I think people will like it. The book is constructed in the way that we have Razuvaev's original text from 2004, and then we have updates from, quite frankly, the worst hack we could find around, which would be me. And just some updates of what has happened since his text. It's not hugely theoretical, it's more inspiring and dealing with dynamic play in the opening in general. So we're going to very quickly go through the chapters. So the first chapter is on the Scotch, and I was thinking, is that going to be some sort of silly gambit? But it's not. It's based on this line here, with Queen h4 and Bishop c5, which doesn't really work because of this exchange sacrifice. And the idea of it is more than describing a real gambit as such. It's more to describe gambit play in the opening and what you get out of it. Okay, the next chapter is the Estrine Gambit, which that sort of belongs in the start of the 20th century, more than it belongs in 21st century, but it's played at times, and there's some good stuff in the chapter, and though it's not a big drive for an advantage, why it's not worse. So it can be played. Okay, next one. And then we have a chapter on 4 knights. There's a G3 Gleck variation, and there's this variation, which is the Rubinstein variation. The G3 stuff is modern, but not very gambity in style. There's something, if 4G3 knight e4, you can transpose into the main line, but never mind that. Then we move on to, well, one of the most famous gambits of all time, which is still relevant, martial attack. These days people play 6d3 basically to avoid this. And sometimes they take it on, but you need a new idea every time, more or less, because it seems black's just fine. Then we have the French. This gambit belongs to the 1920s, because in this position here, people don't really play h4 anymore. They take and play f4. And in the PGN, which is accompanying this vlog, you will find there's a little update from Nikos on this variation, take an f4, not this stuff here, which is very interesting. And it's been played by good players. There's a game by Grischuk in the book. And then we have Razuvaev's own gambit. It can come to this move order in several ways. There's the, what do they call it? The variation with 4c5. It's the 4c6.
Semi-Taras?
Semi-Taras, that's exactly what they call it, yeah. So it can come by that, it can come by various other things, the C3 Sicilian, but also by Caracan, which is what it came from when I was studying it originally. So here, this h4 sacrifice, played by Razuvaev, also played by me. If you take it, the rook comes up to e3 and either g3 or h3. And if it doesn't take it, like bishop f6, knight g5, and queen g4, you have a strong attack. And generally this variation is, I think it's very promising for white. So that's definitely a good gambit. Then we have a gambit which I don't know much about, but Nikos, you do. You say that knight d2 is simply the main move and black doesn't take the pawn.
Yeah, usually what they do is do something like that. There is a similar line in the Ragozin where black plays bishop f8, bishop g7 to guard his king side.
So you get into a more strategic game, but it's an offer of a pawn.
Yeah.
Okay. So in here in the Queen's Gambit, he gives some things, but I gave in my update this b5 move, which is it's quite interesting. This is definitely a new gambit. It's very much in the style of the old days, but also with a new twist. So give up an exchange, and the idea is the pieces are coming out fast. If white defends the pawn with f3, which he doesn't have to do, then he's weakened his dark squares, and black has many ways to create an initiative. All the white pieces are still at the bottom rank, so black has 2 pieces out by the time white is starting to develop. Okay. Then we have the Shear of Shabalov Gambit. It's been a bit played out. I give a game by Rapport against with white against Alyanov, which shows some of the problems for white creating play in this line. I'm sure it will come back. It was sort of died out, then it came back, and it will probably come back again. But objectively, I don't think it's a big threat to black. I don't see it's done anything that should mean that this play is warranted. But it was an interesting idea, and it was played for a long time by the best players. Then we have the real gambit in the Semislav, which is the Moscow Gambit, where white gives a pawn, and black, well, he does a lot to his structure, but on the other hand, his pawns do take squares from white pieces. So we have a very interesting battle here, and I think this will continue for years and years. So yeah, I should say that, but Vinny, you worked with Lars Schandorf on his book on the Semislav, so you considered both the Semislav, the Shabalov Shear Gambit, as we saw, and the Moscow Gambit, and the Botvinnik in one book.
Yes.
And you helped Lars with that. You're a good friend with him from the Danish national team, so you helped him a little bit with that. Can you really put all of that in one book?
We thought we couldn't do that, but we managed, I think.
And you think it's a good book?
Yeah, it's a very good book.
Are the lines still holding up?
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's what I want to hear. Okay, Queen's Indian. We hope to have a book on the Queen's Indian at some point for black. And in this book, Razuvaev, he looks at the Gambit, which is sort of old school. They still play it, but I don't think it really leads to that great play. But this is Polkiewski's Gambit, but he just narrowly missed the introduction of a new Gambit, which was, well, we can debate who invented it, but I think it's like Danny O'Malley and Simon Williams, who were the first to really popularize it. So the idea is simply to give up this pawn, get a lot of quick moves in the opening, and have compensation on the light squares. Black's not able to fully get into position here. So this is very topical, and I cover that in the update. And the next one is the chapter on the Nimzo Indian. And Razuvaev has something on e3, but there's a lot of interesting gambits that came along since then. And well, the one I cover is here in the f3 line, c5, d5, b5, which is quite interesting. But we mentioned the Roiz book earlier. I just want to give what he gives here. He gives d6, e4, b5. This is absolutely a gambit, maybe more than b5 immediately. And he has a lot of very nice improvements in this line, and it seems to just basically work out for black. I think his book is fantastic. He really worked hard. I thought we were going to have like the 4th author who failed to finish a book on the Nimzo Indian, but he did. It's finished. It's being edited. Actually, this very morning, I typeset 7 chapters, and the rest of the chapters have been through one round of editing and are currently being finished so I can typeset them. We hope to get this book off to the printer by the end of next week. if we manage, then we should be able to get out on the 21st of December in chess specialist shops all over the world. People who want it for Amazon in the UK will have to wait a few months. People who want it from the Amazon in the US will have to wait quite a lot of months. And that's simply for the way they deal with stuff. They don't want the books when they're just published. They want them 6 months after you tell them they're finished. Not our choice. But you can still get them our books there eventually, but not quickly. Okay, let's move on. And then we have from Razuvaev another chapter on the Gelf and Halifman Gambit. That's a variation which is very close to have been played out, I think. There's really a lot of forced draws, but some people still play it. Aronian plays it. Who else plays it?
Carlsen has played it.
Carlsen plays it sometimes. But it does have a high tendency of making a draw. It's especially good if you're playing a grandmaster where you want to play for 2 results, and he will have to sit and find maybe a little more colorful line in order to create an interesting game. Okay? And then there's the Jin Gambit. White plays knight g2 or d5 as often as he takes it. Yeah, this I think this is theoretically it's just okay for black, but of course white can play like this. But theoretically it's okay for black. Okay. Yeah, and then I added to the chapter update on various gambit ideas, which has happened since 2004. And just after the book was written, there was this. Do you know this story? Actually, there were 3 players analyzing Nikos. It's Alfonso Romeo Holmes, Alexei Shirov, and Vallejo Pons. So they are analyzing Romeo Holmes' game, and he's saying, "Okay, in this position, I played Rook G1." And Vallejo is like, "What move is this? This is completely ridiculous. Why are you doing this for?" I want to play G4, so I play Rook G4. If you want to play G4, you play G4. Don't play Rook G1. And Shirov said nothing, and introduced it a few months later against Asmas-Parazvili. So okay, I updated the theory here. There's some new ideas, and I think it's still an interesting variation. It's maybe not best, but it's certainly interesting. And that is basically the book. And well, we like to have a little exercise, and you found something this week, Nikos.
Yeah, this is from the Greek Rapid Championships a week ago that finished. It's a very interesting position where here white played the very obvious bishop takes e5 and queen takes f7, but nothing was gained. But after the...
Yeah, okay, so basically I want to cut in before you say too much here. What we want you guys to do is stop the broadcast, stop looking for a moment, and try to solve this on your own, and then come back. Stop it now. And since you're now back, we can give you the first correct move. You can see all the lines in the PGN. So the first correct move is Queen F4.
Sorry,
that is the solution. Yeah. So Queen F4 is the correct move here, and then Black would play Bishop D6. He can cast on there some lines, but not so interesting. And then here, if you didn't really see this, I think you should stop again and have a think. What should white play? Use your imagination. Try to look at it, and also look at what can your opponent do if you play various moves. And you should stop it now. And now you're back. And Nikos, do you want to give the main line?
Yes. This is the move that you loved, right?
I really like it because one of the main things is prevent black from castling. So now we're threatening Queen G7, we're threatening Bishop takes E5, Bishop E5, Rook takes F7. There are lots of ideas. So this is the line you give. And the attack is absolutely killing. And white has a technical win.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you took the time to sit and think about these things. If you want to get better at chess, you need to think better. If you don't try to think better, you won't get to the point where you actually think better. So we hope you did this, and otherwise we just hope you enjoyed this, and thank you very much.
Bye-bye.